What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Ryan and Mindy Show.
Welcome back to the channel, guys.
In today's video, we are going to go over how you can start a side hustle today with your spouse. So a lot of you guys ask me, does Mindy help out with the house flipping business? I know some of you guys realize that she helps out a lot with YouTube right now, but I just kind of want to go over all the side hustles we've done because there's a lot of them that you don't know about. So when we first got married, we were really poor and we were trying to figure out how can we make some extra income for our family. She was still in college. I had not figured out how to house flip yet. So we were pretty much broke. So we started doing some side hustles, and the first one we ever did was furniture restoration. Why don't you tell them about that?
My first furniture restoration was actually a chandelier that was in our dining room. You remember the blue one?
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I spray painted it blue because I just wanted a blue chandelier, and it turned out really good, and I think that's what sparked the love for restoring all of these old pieces of furniture. And so that actually branched into dressers, which then he found.
I would find the deal on Craigslist. I'd be like, hey, we could get this dresser for 50 bucks, restore it, paint it, make it look really cool. We could probably sell it for
200 or something like that.
300 bucks, whatever.
And I loved taking this old piece of furniture and just making it new and funky. We'd paint them all these different colors, and we did it in our garage.
I think after the first one, we were like, man, that was a lot of work because finding the deal was pretty easy, but the work for her was insane because she would paint it like 5 layers of paint because she wanted it perfect. I just remember watching her, I'm like, that took us like 10 hours to paint this dresser.
Yeah.
And we spent like 50 bucks in paint. That was not, at the end of the day, we made like 100 bucks. It wasn't really worth it.
Yeah, we only ended up doing like 5 dressers or something before we decided that it really wasn't worth our time, but it was fun.
Our first side hustle, though profitable, was not worthwhile. So if you guys do start a side hustle and it's not really working out the way you thought, don't be afraid to pivot into something else. Honestly, that side hustle is what led us to the next side hustle, which was very profitable, and that was couch flipping, which we've talked about many a times. If you haven't seen that video, you can find it in the description below. It's one of my highest viewed videos because it ended up being a side hustle that turned into really a full-time job where we were making $8,000 a month.
So what you might not have known is that I actually helped Ryan with flipping couches in the beginning.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about it where she was kind of against it because she didn't want people coming in and out of her house, and we figured out, you know, okay, we can go store this in a storage unit, and she was cool with it. I needed help in the beginning because I didn't really know how to do it yet.
Yeah, there was no system. We were just figuring it out as we went.
Yeah, like what I've told you guys in the video was years of figuring it out along the way. But when we first started, I was like, well, I need help picking up this couch, babe. Like, can you go with me to go pick up this couch? And so we did. Like, she manually picked up couches and helped me load them in the truck and strap them in and do it.
And that's also why I listen to so many Bigger Pockets podcasts, was because I was with him on these hour-long drives.
I would drive for at least 2 to 3 hours a day. So I might as well gain podcast knowledge and, you know, better myself. Later on, I realized that I could do it without her. I could just have the seller of the couch help me unload it, or I could have the buyer of the couch help me unload it. Like, I didn't need to bring another person.
I do remember it being like a burden a little bit going on all these places, and it's funny because he would lure me in with like food or something. He'd be like, hey, we're going to the north side. Let's go to Taco El Gordo, which is like my favorite taco place.
Yep.
But also, by the way, we got to pick up 2 couches, you know? So he would kind of like rope me in that way, but I know that it paid the bills, and so I just had to help him.
Then it just became my thing, but I would still get her to come with me occasionally just for support, you know, to hang out as a couple.
Sometimes he would need to go across town and get some couches, and then nobody would be able to meet a buyer at a storage unit. So then I would have to go and meet them.
Yeah.
And there was a couple sketchy times I felt like somebody maybe would have just gone off with a couch or something, but luckily it was gated, so I wasn't too worried. But after those sketchy experiences, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm out.
So obviously I've talked about couch flipping ended up evolving into house flipping. That was another one where I had her involved because I didn't have any design experience. Like, I knew what a deal was, just like I knew what a deal was with couches and dressers and stuff, but I didn't have the other end of it. And so I said, okay, I'll find the houses, you design them. It'll be just like HGTV, and it's great. She did for a few houses, and then the occasional house that would pop up, she's like, oh, I want to design that. You know, that's a really cool house.
Yeah, I mean, and these were basic designs. I wouldn't say I was a designer by any means. I think it was just natural to pick things that go together, you know, that I think other people would like. I kind of stepped away when I started picking things that I liked, which tend to be a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So then he wouldn't have made any money on these flips.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like, we need to make money. This is, I would love to do this design, but it's just not in the budget. And I think that didn't make her too happy about it, but she understood once again. So it was again one of those side hustles where it started out the both of us, and eventually I kind of just took it from there. But I couldn't have got it off the ground without her.
And luckily, you know, I didn't continue to do it because I do remember one house, we were just talking about it last night, that I took full creative design over. And it was in the cutest, more traditional neighborhood. So we wanted to do something a little bit different. And we wanted to do like these cream colored cabinets, but like the rustic version where you can see, you know, the dark lines and stuff like that. And so we got a cabinet sample, and the sample that they sent had Sharpie marked along all of the edges just to make it look rustic. And when we got the sample, we thought like, oh, maybe they just didn't have the actual cabinet, but they put the Sharpie just to show us, you know, these are where the rustic areas are going to be. What ended up happening was that was not somebody just showing us an example. That was actually the cabinet that looked like somebody took a Sharpie to it. And so we installed it into this house. I don't know if you made money on this house, but I remember you not being too happy with me.
It broke even at best. It's funny because when we went to the cabinet store, they're like, yeah, these cabinets are hand painted. And I was like, oh, hand painted, that's nice.
I'm like, this is going to be so cute,
yeah,
so traditional.
These are legit cabinets, but it's like, no, it's hand painted with
actually,
a Sharpie.
Yeah.
It literally is a Sharpie that they create the lines, and you'll probably be able to edit the cabinet into this.
Maybe, yeah. If I can find it, I'll put a picture right here, but.
Yeah, it just was like, that was so bad because that house should have made money, but we screwed it up with bad design. But that led us to our current side hustle and now full-time job, which is YouTube. And this is a side hustle that she had been telling me to do forever because she's been watching YouTube. I could care less about YouTube, and I just didn't understand it all these years. I was like, why do you watch YouTube so much? And so the beauty was, all these years she spent watching YouTube, by the time I said, I want to do this, she knew exactly how to do it. We've had a ton of YouTube success in such a short period of time. I talk about all the things that, you know, I've done strategy-wise, but it definitely wouldn't be anywhere close without her. Because once again,
that's nice.
she was the only one that could help me out because we started this during the pandemic. And so we were at the house filming, and she would edit on the computer, and she would help me with the thumbnails. She would tell me like what catchy titles are for people because she watches these videos.
That was really sweet. I didn't know he was going to say that, actually. Usually we kind of go, well, we go off the flow. We have like a little bit of a script, but I didn't know he was going to be so cute.
There you go.
But it's fun, honestly. And because I love watching YouTube, I feel like I'm creative. So I love the creative aspect of doing the thumbnails and trying to understand what catches people's eyes. You know, the editing is so fun to me. I mean, I was just telling him like, I might just take a course just for fun on editing because I just love doing it. Honestly, it was really easy for me to just go on board with anything because one, we got to spend a lot of time together, and two, you know, it was just, I wasn't doing anything, so
well, and
it was
you just
fun.
And for you anyways, like these are like ideas I felt like doing, but for you, you're like, you have the skill set to actually really amplify the idea. And with YouTube, you edited all these videos in the beginning, and you still edit the occasional video.
Yeah.
You still do the thumbnails. You're still giving criticism on like, dude, you need to do this.
This
like,
title sucks.
Yeah, this is trash. This is not going to get views. And I'm like, okay, YouTube expert. Like, okay, I'll change it. And a lot of times she's right. And so she has been a huge part of the YouTube success. And you know, it's a side hustle. Like any of you guys watching this right now can do YouTube. I mean, you're watching a YouTube right now. I've showed you guys on different videos. I'll link to a couple of them below. Just how much we've already made in the short amount of time we're doing YouTube. Like it's a six-figure salary already.
It's an easy formula, but you really have to love it. You know, I think that it'll show and translate on camera if you're just doing something
just to
half-heartedly, yeah, or just doing it.
So like the other businesses, she started out really heavily involved. We kind of figured it out as we went along, and then I was able to hire people to kind of replace her because her time's valuable. She's a stay-at-home mom. Like, she cannot run my whole YouTube channel. So that's our journey as a side hustle. I'm sure we're gonna have many more as we go along, but I wanna leave you guys with a couple of tips if you are gonna start a side hustle with your spouse. First tip is to do something you both enjoy. Like, if you're gonna try and force your spouse to do something that they absolutely hate, probably not gonna go well.
No. For example, like the dressers, he didn't love painting them, but he loved finding the deal. So that was something we both enjoyed.
Yeah, it's kind of the yin and the yang with any side hustle. Nobody can truly say they love every aspect of everything they do because it takes so many different personality types to execute one business idea. My second tip would be to set boundaries for yourselves. So if you guys are gonna do the side hustle together and maybe it even becomes a full-time thing, you need to set the boundaries of, hey, this is us working together as colleagues essentially, and then this is us as husband and wife. There has to be a time where you separate it because if you're constantly talking about work all the time or the side hustle all the time, you're gonna get annoyed of each other and you're gonna be stomping on each other's toes. And like, you gotta remember, first and foremost, you guys are a couple.
Yeah, you always have to just value your relationship and each other above anything else.
Third big thing I would say is make sure you have fun with it. You know, couch flipping wasn't the most fun thing. You know, it is something I wanted to get out of, but we had fun with it. We would travel to North Las Vegas, which was in the hood and super far from our house.
But we got to eat amazing tacos.
Yeah, we made fun of it and we also made money from it.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, it's fun to just reminisce and see how far we've come.
Yeah, I do think that the best part of everything is the journey. I mean, you hear the cliche all the time, but it really is true. There's never really an end result. Like, I have no end goal in sight. I'm just enjoying the ride. The last thing I'll say is it's okay if one of you guys quits. Obviously, Mindy chose to quit some, others she just didn't have time for because it became a full-fledged business. Like, that's a great thing to happen, that the side hustle becomes so successful that now it's a full-on business and, you know, we get to hire employees and other stuff. Let's say you develop this great side hustle and it's making you guys money, and your spouse just realizes they don't want to be a part of it anymore. Like, it's just too big at this point. It's not the side hustle they signed up for. It's now a full-time job. You know, at the end of the day, don't hold it against them and be like, well, we started this together. We need to do this together. Like, if you can do it and it makes your family money and it could potentially be a full-time gig, don't hold your spouse to it and make them feel like they got to join it with you.
Yeah, I mean, I found a love throughout that whole process of teaching kids and decided, hey, you know, that's my path for the next few years. So I did my thing and he did his, and it worked out just fine.
But she was always there to support, even though she wasn't involved with it anymore. But anyways, that is our best advice. If you want to start a side hustle with your spouse, definitely take it into account. I think anybody can start a side hustle in today's world.
Yeah, just have fun with it and just support each other and just, like we said, enjoy the ride.
For sure. So if you guys like this, do us a big favor. Go hit the like button. If you haven't already, go hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow both of us on the socials. Until next time, take care.